Okay, so I actually love the conversation that has sparked in my two most recent videos because it really shows the duality of people. In those last two videos, I've gotten a lot of hate comments, most of which didn't even watch the video, by the way. I can tell you that much, and I can verify this with my analytics. But I embrace it because the point of my videos isn't to really glaze anyone or to really defend anyone. It's to point out inconsistencies, wrongdoings, and criticize people. I criticize everyone and everything that piques my interest. That being said, this video is actually going to be addressing some of these comments and giving my perspective. Everyone is entitled to their opinions. If they disagree with me, that's 1000% fine. I don't mind, even if the comments are less than kind. The reason I want to address some of these comments is because I want to clear up some misconception. Do I support Mr. Beast? No, I've been highly critical of him and Chris Tyson in the past and have made a lot of very lengthy exposés on both of them. Do I think Dogpack's accusations are unfounded? No, I never said that. I actually think a lot of Dogpack's claims and accusations have a level of merit to them, some more than others, such as illegal lotteries, shady marketing strategies, hiring potentially dangerous people that should not be working at a company like Beast. But not all of his claims are actually fully founded in definitive evidence, which is something that we really need when it comes to exposés like this. Do I support Dogpack? In the beginning of the month, I was 70-30. I was mostly on Dogpack's side, but as of now, it's flipped. I'm 30-70, and here's why. While I do think Dogpack has some very important information that needs to be heard, his methods aren't exactly the cleanest, most honest, or professional methods out there. That's not to say that his accusations and claims are completely unfounded. It's to say that he has made it exceptionally easy for Mr. Beast to just never be held accountable off of Dogpack's claims. So the only reasonable way to remedy this is for someone with far more credibility and stronger methods to be leading the expose on Mr. Beast. I'm not denying Dogpack's allegations outright. I'm simply saying Dogpack should have been more thorough, but unfortunately, his lack of thoroughness and history of bias, ulterior motives, and deceptiveness is very evident, which makes me wonder if Dogpack was ever the right candidate to be exposing Mr. Beast. So let's get into some comments. I want to start with this one first by somebody named Anime Kaiser Willie. Okay, I got about halfway through your video and I'm just going to assume it's mostly the same through the end. Your accusations are incredibly weak and you're constantly shifting goalposts to try to create a narrative that we can't trust anything Dogpack says. I frankly do not give a shit if someone was downplaying their past drug use. I do not give a shit if someone doesn't bring up their past depression when being accused of having a mental illness. I also do not give a shit if someone brings up the stupid and insane shit other people are saying, as that doesn't actually make them also schizophrenic or mentally ill. Dogpack's personal past is fucking irrelevant to the accusations. First, I want to say, what accusations? The point of my claims is to highlight that Dogpack has been dishonest about pretty much everything regarding his motivations, his story, his insight, and even how much insider knowledge he has actually had. This is not me saying that his allegations are completely unfounded. Two things can be true at once. You can be incredibly dishonest about your life, such as Dogpack, but also make the claim that Mr. Beast hired a registered child sex offender. The difference is that in the case of Delaware, the information is verified and substantiated. However, Dogpack has also attempted to insinuate or imply that Mr. Beast treated women badly in a video where the primary motive is to expose rapists, pedos, and sex offenders in Mr. Beast's company.
But also, it's like not that vague if you have reading comprehension and can read context clues. She says she spent years being quiet, never acknowledging that time in her life. 19 to 21 are formative years. It impacted how she saw herself and how she trusted men. Months of therapy. She says how he treats other women will ultimately be how he treats you. So how does Jimmy treat other women?
I don't really get along with women. I don't really get along with women. I don't really get along with women.
Well, women are stupid because they're inferior to men.
That when she and a group of contestants who were menstruating during the event had asked the production staff about getting their underwear more quickly, she had been told that it was not a medical emergency.
You'll never actually respect a woman, but just act like you respect them.
My God.
Mr. Beast withheld my birth control. I have ovarian cysts. You can't just stop taking birth control.
I don't really get along with women.
Let me draw a comparison. In this video, I substantiated every bit of criticism with absolute verifiable proof corroborated by Dogpack's own statements, legal documentation, and made callbacks to things he has verifiably said in interviews. I personally will not present an allegation, claim, or implication without having some verifiable, untampered, unbiased sources. This is not the same for Dogpack, as in his most recent video he uses hearsay and rumors employees have also heard, which is more hearsay, to attempt to make the allegation that James Warren abused abused his girlfriend and abused his dog. Now imagine this hypothetical. Imagine someone approached you one day and said they heard from one of your dad's exes that he was abusive when they were together 15 to 20 years ago. Are you going to believe this person just because they heard something from someone you don't know may have a potential bias or motive? This is not to say that James Warren didn't do anything. He might have. We simply don't know. But Dogpack led people to believe he did by being vague about whether or not he was actually held accountable in a domestic dispute case.
Apparently, according to Dogpack, there are domestic violence charges against him, but since there are also apparently so many people named James Warren who beat their girlfriends, according to Dawson, it's difficult to find.
And I say allegedly because it turns out there's a lot of people in North Carolina named James Warren who assault their girlfriends, I guess. So I'm still having people look into these cases, specifically that surprise witness on YouTube.
You know, like court evidence and stuff, which is horrible. That's a horrible, horrible little factoid there.
They're alleging things. One of the things that these people are alleging, or one of these people has alleged to Dawson, is James Warren, this guy we just talked about, the secret CEO, had committed some type of domestic incident, some type of harm onto a girl that he was dating. I did look into this, and I went into it thinking he had done that. Okay, I went into it thinking he did it, and I'm just gonna have to find the paperwork for it. I searched and searched and searched, and there was one case number I looked into. Again, I could probably make a whole video on this, but suffice it to say that I do not think that the case number that is associated with this picture right here, and I told Dawson this, and that's why he said this in the video, I do not think that this particular case is the same James Warren. For many reasons, like I said, I did a few hours of research just into this case alone. I was in the property records. I was on Facebook looking people up. I was doing all kind of looking at the marriage records in the newspaper. I just don't think this is the same James Warren. It doesn't even appear that this James Warren is even related to this James Warren that we're talking about. And there's a lot, it's a common name. James, a very common name. We got 5011 Jameses and Jakes just at the Mr. Beast company. So I don't think that that is him. So I am not prepared to make the allegation that he committed some type of domestic incident that has been put on the record because I've not been able to find that.
And that's just one example out of many in his last two videos. And before you get ahead of yourself and say, well, he did say it was just alleged and that he was still verifying it. Okay, even if you draw the possibility of it being a possibility, that's still going to stick to the back of some people's minds, and they're going to make the assumption or at least be aware of the fact that someone may have potentially abused someone.
Apparently, according to Dogpack, there are domestic violence charges against him, but since there are also apparently so many people named James Warren who beat their girlfriends, according to Dawson, it's difficult to find.
This is why you don't make unsubstantiated claims. Moving on to the next comment. The mental health thing is a joke about whistleblowers. Kinda lost your credibility 5 minutes in. Yeah, I know it was a joke. I'm very aware that it was a joke. Kinda lost your credibility 5 minutes in. If you want to hold this standard, then you better hold Dogpack to the standard of not insinuating Mr. Beast may be malicious to women in his recent video when Mr. Beast himself was also using jokes. This one right here is particularly interesting to me. Platinum Alteria says, editing my comment after looking at your vids and realizing you just post whatever for clicks. Well, I wonder who else does that because that's almost kind of the point of YouTube. People will post whatever for clicks. But the thing that I want to particularly mention here is that I have a sense of consistency. I actually care about the topics that I talk about for the most part because they're particularly interesting to me. I like criticizing people when they've done something wrong. I like highlighting issues and exposing them for what they are, which leads me into this next comment by Obama Gaming 49. Great fucking name, by the way. You sound like a modern day editorialist. Speaks on everything with minimal research and no expertise with only the goal of gaining attention. Unless you mature and grow out of this polemic attention seeking, I sincerely hope you find no success on the internet, but I have a feeling I won't have to do too much hoping. I mean, I guess you can say that if only it were actually true, because when you look at some of my content and actually start exploring the things that I've talked about and the things that I say, you would know that I actually put a lot of effort into properly dissecting information. Like, this is something that a lot of people won't really understand about me unless you actually take the time to sit down and talk to me, which I don't expect anyone to actually do or to actually, take the time to go watch my content. But those people who do know, know that I am very big when it comes to informational integrity and getting things correctly, because getting information incorrectly is like one of my biggest nightmares. It's one of my biggest fears. And if I ever do get anything incorrect, I'm usually the first one to call it and correct the record. This is why I actually spend hours upon hours upon hours thoroughly researching and gathering information, as well as sources, evidence for pretty much anything that I cover at any point in time. I know that sounds very silly, but I actually love to write. I'm pretty much a professional writer. I can be a bit disorganized at times, as evident by those screenshots that I just showed, but I really do care about the things that I talk about to a very significant extent. Again, sounds very go touch grassy, but I mean, it is a hobby that I do enjoy doing. I care about these things. I care about getting information correct. I care about nuance. That's pretty much all I have to say in that regard. So if you wish that I don't succeed on the platform, that's fine. Whatever, okay, sure, it might not happen, okay. Now we're moving on to a comment by Jaegerman66. Regardless of intent, this does primarily come across as an ad hominem attack, rather than any meaningful debunking or criticism of the information he has brought to light. I, for one, am much less interested in the character of the whistleblower than the actual expose. And being erratic while at the company or having a vendetta against Jimmy doesn't in and of itself discredit his argument, especially since the focus of his argument is of testimony from others, not just his opinion or unverified personal accusations. While I do agree it may come off that way, it wasn't the intent. The reason I made those arguments in the first place is because Dogpack is dishonest in ways some people don't even think to consider. Dogpack has accused Mr. Beast of hiring private investigators to come up with methods to discredit him, such as running a narrative that aims to discredit him by calling him a druggie or mentally ill. Dogpack has claimed Mr. Beast is trying to publicly destroy his character, and that there is no reason to do that because it's unfound. But when you actually look into Dogpack's history, especially the cease and desist letter, and his own statements and posts, it is apparent that these are not unfounded claims, even though Dogpack has said that there is nothing to suggest it. It brings into question his reliability as a narrator, right? Because why would you lie about this? Why would you accuse Mr. Beast of doing these things, saying there's nothing to suggest any of this, and that it's all a false narrative, if that's simply not the case? It's not true. It seems very charged and misleading in my opinion. Most of the cease and desist arguments are meaningless. Of course he wanted to stay if he wanted to get paid. People are not above begging for a gravy job. That doesn't mean that there weren't improprieties. Okay, I agree to an extent. You can say that most of the cease and desist arguments are meaningless, but to me, they're not. Dogpack, in interviews, has claimed that he wouldn't actually be screwed by an NDA, that he wouldn't actually have to face any consequences for his actions, but that's evidently just not true. Again, it brings into question how reputable and knowledgeable is Dogpack really if he doesn't even know he might actually face serious ramifications. As for him begging for his job, I want to bring something up that we'll get into a little bit later.
Today, we're going to be begging for a job in the Mr. Beast subreddit.
So bear with me. Since it came out, nobody with any particular credibility has truly debunked his actual allegations, so this wave of people and videos who went straight to digging up his lifestyle does nothing but serve to distract people from the still lingering accusations on the company and stokes disproportionate doubt on the entire story, a la this video's title. Bottom line, everybody has a motivation to do stuff like this, no exceptions, but the bulk of his primary accusations thus far have been things that are relatively plain to see, and much of it has straight up been speculated before he even dropped his video. That's true, you're absolutely correct. I have been saying that for a long time. As for the part where nobody with particular credibility has actually debunked his accusations, that is also true because to an extent, there is not really anything to debunk. It's more so we need and want Dogpack to be thorough with his information as to not give Mr. Beast an out. These videos aren't really to defend Mr. Beast, they're not really to distract from Mr. Beast, because in my mind, or at least my intent, isn't really to side with someone, because truthfully, I'm on nobody's side when it comes to these situations. My goal is just to criticize and to point out inconsistencies and errors in people's characters. That's what I love to do. I do not care about Dogpack. I do not care about Mr. Beast. I just like criticizing things. Kinkster says, honestly, what a nothing burger of a vid, dude. This is no diff than Dogpack saying the raccoon was a paid actor. Who gives a fuck? This doesn't disregard all the valid criticism Dogpack brought up. Keep writing Jimmy's Lil Beast. That's true. It doesn't disregard the information that Dogpack has brought to light. You're absolutely correct. However, My videos aren't to say that what Dogpack is doing is wrong. It's to say that the way he's going about executing it is wrong. Because now he has given Mr. Beast an out, actually several outs, because Mr. Beast's initial out, if you actually were paying attention, was the fact that Dogpack is an unreliable narrator that is inconsistent in regards to his own claims and the sentiment he had about the company. But now, because of his shoddy journalism and lack of thorough investigation in his new video, Mr. Beast might never actually have to acknowledge or address anything, because now he can just use the excuse of, oh, Dogpack is incompetent and insinuated these falsehoods about me. That's what Dogpack did, and that's why I'm criticizing him. This is the last comment that I'm going to touch on, and it's, he's done drugs before, discredit everything he says. In the end, he made accusations and Mr. Beast has taken the route of character assassination instead of just disproving them. This is what people do when they can't prove what people say is wrong. They dig through their past and get every bit of evidence possible to make persons seem untrustworthy. You're correct. That's absolutely true, and that's exactly why I'm criticizing Dogpack, because as we can see here, we have Dogpack being a little snarky, which I personally don't agree with. I think that Dogpack should be handling this as maturely and as professionally as possible. But hey, at the end of the day, I mean, I'm not going to really put that past him right now. He's sort of the villain that everybody on the internet is rooting for. He's sort of like the Joker. Everybody wants him to win right now. So if he wants to be snarky and funny and get people on his side by being snarky and funny, I digress. He has all the privilege to do so. I sort of see that perspective from this point on. I mean, look at the tweet that he posted to even start this thread. New one, double it and give it to the next person. While I personally don't enjoy that meme anymore, I understand the humor behind it. Anyways, let's move on to what else he has to say, and looking into my family's social media accounts to find ways to discredit me. Apparently, the best narrative they have right now is that I'm a crazy drug-addicted Mr. Beast superfan that got fired for trying to steal company funds. I will say this much, Dogpack, while I have read some of your posts and I have gone back to look into some things you've had to say, if I'm going to be good faith and say that you were just making jokes and I understand that they were jokes, you also have to understand that some people can use those jokes as they're in text and don't have any tone of sarcasm. People can use these jokes against you very seriously, so you kind of brought that on yourself, which is why I said I would have rather preferred if you kept this more professionally instead of like coming off as a schizo. Further in this tweet, he goes on to say, if this text is true, I will say, Mr. Beast, if you want to resort to personal attacks, I'm happy to reciprocate, or, you know, just address the evidence. Again, I have to say that, Dogpack, if you want to come off as this grander-than-thou individual who has a lot of evidence against him, you should heavily refrain from stooping to very, very low levels. I mean, if you want to do so, I mean, go ahead, be everyone's guests, and make the situation a lot worse than what it is so that people can make content out of it, because ultimately that's what's going to happen, and I'm pretty sure that's what you want. But again, in some of these cases, if you want to make claims like these, you should at least carry yourself in a way that more people are willing to agree with you. I was actually saying this a month ago. I was saying that if Dogpack continues to behave in erratic ways and give Mr. Beast the opportunity to discredit him further, especially if he's not careful about how he's going about this information, he's going to get screwed later down the line. And that's exactly what's happening right now, because believe it or not, I'm not even the only person that's looking to criticize Dogpack for his inconsistencies and make him seem as an unreliable narrator. I was actually being very generous in regards to how I'm criticizing Dogpack because I still value his input to an extent. Other people aren't so kind. Before anyone says anything, I know that that comment was an attempt to sort of criticize me, but the fact of the matter is that I don't think this person understood that my entire goal with that video was to sort of explain that Dogpack has brought on that unfortunate circumstance to himself. I'm going to end off this video with this statement and back it. The information Dogpack has brought to light is valuable, that's true. Some of it is verifiable, but the information that is verifiable and potentially credible is the only thing that should be taken from this. Dogpack is not deserving of your support, but the information definitely is. In my opinion, he's just as much of a fraud as Mr. Beast, and there's plenty of evidence to support this because it's debatable whether Dogpack has authenticity. One of the main things plenty of parents latched onto is how Mr. Beast targets kids' minds and uses psychological means to make his content as addictive as possible to try to bolster his empire. But what if I told you Dogpack's objective was to be complicit to this as a means to prop himself up? Don't believe me? Look for yourself.
The primary mechanism for human learning and development outside of the womb is play. During play is when humans naturally download the most information into their brain. And play has remained largely the same for the past 50 million years, essentially outdoor social, mental and physical experimentation of the self and other foreign bodies. So only in the past decade has the most important mechanism for the development of the most important species changed drastically from unstructured outdoor play to indoor screenplay. So I really can't stress enough how important I think it is to make sure that beneficial content goes viral.
This was a video he made sort of as an audition to a job application. It's actually a decent video that has good information or lessons to be learned, especially in regards to YouTube. To his credit, he does say that he does believe beneficial content should be the most important things to go viral, so his incentive isn't directly rooted in negativity. Of course, there is always the possibility that he made this audition video to breach Mr. Beast with no actual care for the job at hand or for the concepts and rhetoric used in the video, but that doesn't seem to be the case, especially since it's not the first time he tried getting a job from a famous celebrity. Furthermore, if that was the case, it would even make that dishonest and manipulative. The point being is that Dogpack's intentions, bias, and ability to vet his sources and information are things that can be criticized, things that should be criticized. He's not as consistent or as credible as most of us would like him to be. So again, I still hold the belief that he's no longer the person to be leading this expose, especially when he used someone like Jake Weddle, a provable liar, in one of his videos. Speaking of which, he's next on my chopping block. Later.